Hello, and welcome to my project leadership coaching session, Mastering Your Calendar, the Project Leaders Framework for Effective Meetings. Hi there, I'm Jennifer Glatz. I'm a project leadership coach and the founder of ProCollab Consulting, and I'm so glad you're here joining me inside this coaching session. So let me know in the comments below this video. I am curious, have you ever experienced meeting fatigue? Let me know what your experiences have been so far because you know what? Having a full calendar of meetings can absolutely be difficult. And it is the number one time crunch that project people experience really on a daily and weekly basis. So I can personally say that lots and lots of meetings can be honestly soul crushing, right? When you have so many meetings back to back in your calendar that you can't even get any real work done on your project that needs to get done. And what I see happen so often is that project leaders will come in early, stay late, work weekends, work a whole bunch of overtime to kind of catch up on those really important project tasks because they are tied up in all of these meetings back to back. And you know what? This also compounds in a sense that it doesn't even allow you to really make time to develop your skills as a project leader either. So I have been there, I've been through that experience. I know how difficult and soul crushing it can be sometimes. And so that is why we are covering this topic in our coaching session today. So I wanted to share with you a quick backstory. I was working on a large project with a really complex scope. And what was happening for me was that I was in meetings for probably upwards of 30 hours per week. And I tried a ton of different things. I tried to decline some meetings. I tried to not show up to some meetings. I tried to rearrange some meetings. I tried to, talk to certain people to try and make it more manageable. And I just found that there are a lot of different techniques that we try that just don't work, or at least they didn't work for me. And so I thought to myself, okay, what can I do differently? What are some things that I can control when it comes to my calendar to make this whole meeting situation better? And that is ultimately how I came up with the project leaders meeting framework that I'm going to share with you today. And honestly, it gave me my time back. I no longer think about meetings in that same way as I did in the past. And certainly you can get those results too, to win some time back in your calendars as well. So with that, let's talk about your project meetings. What has your experience been? Give me a couple of keywords, a phrase maybe that describes your experience of meetings so far in your career. Let me know down below in the comments. So I'm going to certainly read those comments through, but I think it's really safe to say that we can all relate to ineffective project meetings in some capacity or another. And so let me ask you, why is it so important that we solve this? Well, there was actually a study done in 2017 by the Harvard Business Review. And what they did was they surveyed a whole bunch of different managers across a wide range of industries. And the study found some really interesting facts that let me quickly share with you. Number one, they found that 65% of respondents to this survey said that meetings hinder their work in some kind of way. 65%. When I read that statistic in the report, I actually honestly thought that was a little bit low, but still a shocking number. 65% is a lot. The second thing that they shared in the report is that 71% of survey respondents stated that their meetings are unproductive and ineffective. So 71% of these respondents are leaving their meeting rooms feeling unproductive, feeling like they didn't accomplish anything, feeling like they will never get that time back. 71%. It's really truly shocking. But more importantly, I think this third statistic that they highlighted was that 62% said that meetings fail to bring the team closer together. So not only are ineffective meetings kind of soul crushing and taking up, a whole bunch of space within our work weeks, but it's also not really doing its job to bring our project teams together, to team build and to collaborate. So I found that really, really quite shocking. And so let's talk about that. Why are effective project meetings so critical to your success as a project leader? I have a few answers for you. Number one, your time management. And of course, your time management of your teammates as well. For you personally and for the whole project team, it is really important to have the amount of time available to do the work that you need to do, right? And so being able to lead effective project meetings that are productive, that are efficient, is going to help you with your time management on your projects. The second reason that this is so critical is the information exchange piece. It's so critical for project success to send and receive the right information at the right time on projects so that all of our project teams can do their work effectively. So the information exchange piece is really important. The third reason why this is so critical, and the Harvard Business Review touched on this point, is around team building. So we can use effective project meetings as a mechanism to build stronger and more collaborative project relationships. And the stronger our project relationships are, the more effective we're going to be as a team. Now, if you're feeling pretty good about this, I wanted to quickly touch on the business outcomes. So it's really important to lead effective project meetings because that is going to lead to overall business outcomes that are really going to help your organization to grow and to thrive. So things like job satisfaction, the employees within your organization are going to feel a higher level of satisfaction. They're going to be more engaged in their roles. And ultimately, that is going to lead to higher retention in your organization as well. And so we can make the business case that having very effective project meetings is also critical to the success of the overall business and growth. But let me touch on something a little bit more personal. The last reason I want to share with you why project meetings need to be effective is for your well being. In those circumstances where you are back to back meetings, you're working a ton of overtime, you're not feeling like you're getting very much traction in terms of your own very important project work, it can be very draining. It can be very stressful. It can be very demoralizing. And a lot of the times when we're feeling that way within our work setting, we're also bringing that home to our families, right? Have you been there? You know, those really tough, long days where you're exhausted and you just don't have the energy that you need to truly be present with your family and do all of those things that you love to do outside of work. And so, another critical reason why we're talking about this today is for your well being, that if we can get this piece right, you're going to see a shift in your energy. You're going to see a shift in how you're coming home at the end of the day. And I truly wish that for you, project leader. So, some very important reasons why effective project meetings are so critical. So, let's talk about our coaching objective for our session today. This coaching session is for anyone who either leads or participates in project meetings. And my goal for you as an outcome is I want to show you how to create effective project meetings to win back time in your workday, even if you are not the one leading or organizing them. So that is my goal for you today. So I'm really hoping that this coaching session is going to be helpful for you, especially to save you some time. So let's set a goal. together that you are going to get at least a 200% return on your investment today in terms of your time. So you're investing roughly 30 minutes with me today in this coaching session. And if you implement the strategy, the framework that I'm going to share with you in just a moment, my goal for you is to save you at least 1 hour per week, right? So our goal that we're aiming for is to get you a 200% return on investment on your time today. So with that, let's dive in. I'd like to introduce you to my project leaders meeting framework. So this framework is all about how to create effective project meetings to win back time in your workday. And as I mentioned, even if you are not leading them, you can still use this process. So let's dive right in. So step one in the framework is to connect the meeting goal to a project or a business outcome. Now, why is this important? How many times have you felt that at the end of a meeting you weren't really sure if anything was accomplished? Or you were sitting in a meeting and it felt like everyone was kind of going around in circles and things were not really going anywhere? Or even a third scenario, have you ever sat in a meeting where it was just all about project status updates, where things were at? Sure. I'm sure you have at least one of each one of those scenarios. And it's very common in project delivery. But what I want to share with you in this step one is that if we can be very intentional about creating a meeting goal or an outcome that's either going to affect the discrete project you're working on or for the business overall, it's really going to help us keep the meeting on track. It's going to allow us the permission to bring people back in when we're getting off topic. And it's a great way to also filter out some of the meetings in your calendar that you may not need to go to, right? So when it comes to reducing your meeting overload, I find that a powerful question to ask yourself is, what is the meeting goal? Why am I going to this meeting? Or why are we having this meeting? And if you've got clarity on that, fantastic. We're going to keep those in. But if you're finding it difficult to really find and nail down that meeting goal, then that is a prompt for you as a project leader. If this is a meeting that you're running, to circle back and really get clear on what is your objective, what is the thing that you want to accomplish inside this meeting, and communicate that to the project team in advance so that we know we're all on the same page of what we want to accomplish. Now, in the case of you're invited to a meeting, so it wasn't you that scheduled it, but it's one of those, mandatory must come pops up in your calendar. This step one also gives you the opportunity to circle back to the meeting organizer and ask that same question. It might sound something like, hey, Jane, I'm really excited about learning more about what you want to talk about in this meeting and how best I can help you. Could you let me know a little bit more about what is the goal or the outcome that you're expecting from the meeting? And so when we ask that question, it helps the other person who organized the meeting to really get clear on the intention. And a few different things may happen. It may be that they say, yeah, we have this design problem that we're trying to solve. And so I've blocked out 2 hours of my time or of our team time, and we're going to brainstorm and come up with a solution. Great. So if we've got clarity on that meeting goal, fantastic. But it may happen that the person realizes, you know what? I'm not entirely sure how this meeting is going to go. I was actually thinking I might just kind of wing it. So let me circle back to you. Let me think it through a little bit more, and I'll get back to you with a specific goal in mind. So it's a great opportunity for you to kind of coach somebody through thinking through that process. So, what is the meeting goal? Really powerful question to ask. And if it's not clear, this is your signal. This is your prompt to dig a little bit deeper to gain clarity. Now, one more little hint that I want to give you before I move on to step 2 is that a status update is not a meeting outcome. Now, before you get upset with me, I know and I realize that project status updates are so critical. We need to know what's going on. But what I want to invite you to think about here is that we have many tools available in our project management toolkit that can help us collect status on meeting items and tasks and the schedule without necessarily getting into a meeting room with other people. And so, if you're finding that a lot of the meetings in your calendar are about status updates, this is a great opportunity for you to find a different way to collect those status updates and get those meetings out of your calendar. So, something to think about and that very powerful question. So, let's talk about step 2 of the framework. So, this is to create a collaborative agenda in advance. So, what do I mean by collaborative? It's very important to your meeting success in terms of being productive and efficient and achieving the goal or outcome that you're expecting to collaborate on the agenda items or item, one singular, with the project team in advance. What this does is A, you're getting buy in, B, you're figuring out who truly needs to be inside the meeting. And C, you are giving yourself permission to keep the team on track once you get in the meeting room. So it's great to send out a draft agenda in advance or a couple of bullet points, really get buy-in and clarity on the agenda for the meeting and ask your team for some feedback before you get to the meeting room. And I promise you, you're going to see some different energy in the room when you already have that buy-in on the way in. All right, so let's dive into step 3 of the framework. Of course, the follow through. So following through on the meeting plan with fierce discipline. Now, what I mean by fierce discipline is as the project leader, you are protecting the project team's time, especially if you were the one leading the meeting. And so, fierce discipline is all about keeping everybody on task in a respectful way, of course. I'm certainly not inviting you to do this in a damaging sort of way, but we can use our direct and compassionate tools to say, hey, okay, we've kind of gone around in circles. Let's bring it back to this specific topic or outcome that we're trying to achieve. So you are the custodian of those effective meetings that you lead. And if you are a willing participant in a meeting, but not necessarily leading it, this can also give you some ideas of how to intervene if the conversation goes off track. So, when we're in fierce discipline, we are committed to the meeting goal or outcome, and we are getting everyone on the same page towards that goal or outcome and bringing people back on task when things kind of go off the rails. Step 4 of the meeting framework is, I think, the really fun part. So, step 4 is to utilize tech and tools in our project management toolkit to capture key decisions, to capture action items in real time when you're in the meeting. There are a ton of tools available, and I've got one example just on the screen here for you where we can use AI, we can use automation, we can use plugins inside of our project management meeting rooms and the various tools to capture decisions and action items in real time. And that way, what's great about this one is that when you leave the meeting room, you're no longer spending an hour or two collecting the meeting minutes, collecting all the notes, and doing all of that work afterwards to send it out. We can really leverage tech tools to be able to get this done right inside the meeting room, and then it's done and dusted. and you're good, and you're not spending additional time afterwards with the collection. And last but not least, step 5 is to measure project progress on action items and your goals offline. And you can do this with the help of automation. So again, I've got another example just on the screen here for you, but there are a ton of tools available in the marketplace where we can really leverage automation to take this off our plate, to empower your project teammates to update their own progress on the action items assigned to them, and how to connect that to the overall project goals without having to chase status updates or without having to do this manually. And so step 5 is really exciting because you can leverage automation to take this off of your plate as well and get some time back into your work week. And that's it. So let's quickly recap. The Project Leaders Meeting Framework has those 5 steps. And to help you remember it, I like to use the acronym GAPTA, which stands for Connecting the Meeting Goal to a Project or Business Outcome. Step 2, Agenda, right? Creating that collaborative agenda in advance to get team buy-in. Key for plan, follow through on that meeting plan with fierce discipline and keeping everybody on track. The 4th is tools, right? So utilizing tech and tools to capture decisions and action items in real time inside the meeting to save yourself some time on the back end. And then last but not least, the A for automation, measure progress on your action items and goals offline with help of automation. So I hope that acronym GAPTA helps you remember the Project Leaders Meeting Framework. And with this framework, you can create effective project meetings to win back time in your workday, even if you are not leading those meetings. So I certainly hope that you find this framework helpful. And of course, this is just one of many strategies that I have inside my project leader development system. Now, we would be amiss if I didn't give you your project leader action plan. So let's put this into practice this week. So here's my challenge to you. Here is my encouragement. Implement the Project Leaders Meeting Framework this week inside your projects and see how you go, see how it works out. And I invite you to measure how much time you've won back in your work week, and I would love to hear about it. So let me know in the comments below this video. Once you've had a chance to implement, come back, pop a comment under this video, and I would love to hear the amazing results that you're getting with it. And if you would like some practical tools and my support to implement this strategy more deeply so that you can create effective meetings in your project-based organization as a whole, then I have also included a link in the description for you on how you can book a project leadership development planning session with me, and we can unpack it and we can talk a little bit more about what that could look like for us to work together. So I'm really looking forward to reading your comments, seeing your amazing results implementing this framework, and I will see you in my next project leadership coaching session.